This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant and Pest Geek Podcast for the Living the Wildlife podcast. Always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and or other control methods to manage pests. Wildlife Control Consultant, LLC, Pest Geek Podcast, Living the Wildlife Podcast, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their or his affiliates are not responsible for followers' use of the information provided here. Hi, everyone. Stephen Van Tassel here, wildlife control consultant, bringing you another episode of Living the Wildlife podcast as part of the Pest Geek podcast family. I have a very special guest today. Well, all my guests are special. So here, Mike Hoggan. He is formerly with USDA Wildlife Services, and he has invented a new trap that you probably haven't heard of. And so we're really glad to have him on the show today. He introduced me to this trap several years ago. I think probably almost 6 years ago. I think you introduced it to me back then. And then so now you're retired and you going off and keeping busy trapping animals. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I worked for Wildlife Services for almost 43 years, and I just retired the 1st of January. And actually, this device was invented by a guy named Steve Nemers, and he is from Great Falls, and he was one of our guys, and he came up with a side delivery foot snare. And I always, in my mind, kind of thought something like that, but he's the one that brought it forward and brought it to me. And anyway, that's kind of how it all began. It was over 10 years ago.
All right. So you didn't actually invent it then. Were you just someone who helped tweak it a little bit more, or you just bought it off of him? How did that come into your possession?
Well, actually, he came up with the original device, but it needed, like anything that you're inventing, it needed some changes and this and that. And
Okay.
we worked together. But one thing I noticed right off, on this side device, if you're using a light cable, that it's going to cut. And I thought, that's not going to work. And in our jobs, and we've used traps and snares and everything for years and years and caught a lot of different animals. One thing that come to mind was how to utilize this without cutting. And so in my previous life before Wildlife Services, which, like I say, has been a long time, I worked for ranches. And one thing that we did at ranches is at calving time, we pulled calves. And the way to pull calves is you put these kinkless chains around their legs, and you have a difficult birth, and you pull them out that way, and it doesn't do any damage. So I thought, I wondered if that heavier chain would work with this foot snare that Steve had come up with. And so anyway, we got together and got some of this kinkless chain and this thing and that thing. And first it was a flip thing that come up, and then we come up with wires, and then we come up with this and that. And anyway, it was a work in progress, and it took a while, like anything that you invent.
Sure. Well, why don't we set this up again? Because I think some of our viewers are not from a trapping background. So it's called Select a Catch. That's the trap's name, Select a Catch, right? SELECTACATCH. So Select a Catch. And when you say it's side snare, do you have an example there to hold up to the audience?
Okay, so the old snare system, like for bears and lions and different animals that some would use, would be like one of those thrower arms that flipped straight up in the air.
Okay.
And it would catch, a lot of times really high and stuff. So this one was a side pull. And so it's set up to where the snare goes around in a loop. And it's the one we came up with is 11 and a half inches. And so when an animal steps on it, it comes up a certain height and pulls sideways and catches right around the wrist.
Okay, so we're looking at a leg snare rather than a neck snare.
Correct.
Okay, and so it's not, and so where the collarum trap throws the loop around the neck, this one the animal steps like a traditional foothold, and then the loop
Throws
grabs
the loop around the
around the
wrist.
leg. Okay, and do you have an example of it there to show them?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you pull it up for the audience to see that? We have a video, by the way, folks, that you'll be able to see. He has a 5-minute video that he's allowed us to include in the podcast. So you'll see it in action. He'll show you how to set it, but we want to show you what it looks like here for you. It's quite an interesting design.
Okay, I don't know how much.
Yeah, if you get it close enough, it'll work.
Right?
All right, so
So this is the unit, and
yeah,
you'll see in that video. I mean, it's not near as hard to set it might look like.
yeah.
And so this right here is a tension device.
Okay, I'm gonna hold it a little bit closer to the screen, to the lens.
Okay.
Your background filter's throwing it off.
How's this looking?
What if we turn off the background filter?
Turn off the background filter, right?
Yeah, the bear is there because folks, this will trap bears as well. So it's not, so it'll trap coyotes, it'll trap bears.
Coyotes to black bears. I've caught some grizzlies with it too, but we sell a lot of them to Maine. We started 3 years ago into Maine, and the first year was pretty good. The second year was better, and last year was crazy. And they've learned that this is a easy to set, pretty much foolproof snare device that.
Okay. So are you able to remove the background filter?
No, it's still there.
It's still there. Yep. So it also catches feral hogs.
Feral hogs, it'll catch just about anything. Coyotes, we sell a lot for dog catchers.
Okay.
For nonprofits that are out trying to catch dogs that have strayed, and it's something with that kinkless chain that will catch them and won't hurt them. Especially a lot of times anymore, they have cameras up and they know immediately when something's
yeah.
And so if you go on our website, you'll see some testimonials from people in different states that have captured dogs like this, that they're very impressed with it.
Okay, and I know that your video talked about how you have a breakaway in case a deer gets caught.
Correct. And
yep.
And so I'll have the background here. So I'll show this here. Every snare is different. And
right.
So this one unit captures, like I say, anything from a coyote to a bear, but it depends on the snare that's being utilized. And so like this one here,
okay.
This is a typical like coyote snare, coyote bobcat, hog, but here's your breakaway. And
okay.
So this is designed, and every breakaway is different, that if you have a lighter breakaway and you catch a coyote, bobcat, it's enough to hold it. But if you catch a deer or something larger, a cow or whatever, if you've got a stake solid, that they'll hit that and they'll break away and this will open up. And in the video that you were talking about, that's evident, whereas this has caught a deer, it's opened up and they're gone.
What's the poundage of that breakaway? Do you know?
That is a proprietary secret.
Okay, because I know in Montana, don't they have it has to be a minimum weight breakaway?
Yes, and I guarantee it's the minimum. But it took me years to figure this out.
Okay.
And, so anyway, so each animal is different. So we got a stronger one, and there's actually two of them for wolf lion. Okay, so if you set your tension device strong enough, then a coyote or something lighter can step on that, and it won't go off. But if something heavier does, and if say a cow, a horse, or an elk or a moose, which have a lot of them here,
yeah,
does trip it, and if you have it tied to a tree, have a good strong anchor, right, that breakaway will open up usually in the first jump.
Okay, just move the camera lens down a little bit farther down, so when you're holding the snare up, it'll show up a little bit. Maybe move that camera. There you go, right up there.
So
beautiful.
Here's the breakaway. Here's the lock, and
okay.
And then here's a little heavier cable, and this is the wolf/lion snare.
Okay.
With the heavier breakaways.
Gotcha. All right. So let's go down the list again. So you said you could catch dogs with it, feral hogs, coyotes, wolf, bear, grizzly bear, black bear, grizzly bear, mountain lion. What are we missing?
Feral hogs.
Feral hogs.
And that's one of our biggest sellers. And it's something that, this unit cost $159. Okay,
Okay.
so if somebody wants to go out and catch a bunch of feral hogs, and it's probably not cost effective. But if you're in a place where you've tried the helicopter, you've tried the cage traps, you've tried shooting, you've tried everything, and you have these last remaining hogs, you want to get rid of all of them.
Yep.
This is the perfect tool to set in the trails to get those hogs that you can't get any other way.
So is this primarily a blind set trap, or do you use it with bait as well?
You can use either one, but most of it is the blind set. Most of it is a trail set.
All right. And why is that? Is it just because it's easier, or is it just because it's kind of large? Because what is it, about a yard long or 4 feet long?
Oh, no, it's not 4 feet long. It's, I think 32 inches.
32 inches long? Okay.
Right. But you can put it right in the trail where they're coming and going. And in that way, you don't have to, an animal coming in on a trail set is not near as leery as one that's coming into a bait.
Okay. Can it catch a fox, or is it fox too light?
No, you can lighten that up. That tension device goes from like 2 to 30 pounds.
Wow.
And I have some springs that when we send these to Maine and somebody's just going to do black bears, it'll go heavier than that.
Okay.
But it depends on the lengths. So,
right.
And that's kind of the beauty of this too. If you set this up and say you don't want to catch a fox, you don't want to catch a skunk, you don't want to catch a coon or whatever, their legs are smaller. So that only tightens up so much, and then they can pull out.
Gotcha. So you can make sure you're targeting the animal you want
as best you can.
Best you can.
You can't be 100% on anything, but
sure. And so do you have so what made this guy think of this side pull where it has a spring that pulls the snare to the side, as opposed to because isn't there another foot snare that uses a spring that kind of also the animal puts its foot down into a hole, almost into a hole, and then gets its foot caught?
No, there's all different kinds of snares out there.
Okay.
This one, I think, especially when you see in the video, is so easy to set. You don't have to dig a hole necessarily. And if you do want to put this right on the trail or whatever, and you want to get it ground level, you only have to dig it down an inch.
Okay. How about freeze ups?
So this actually works a little better than say a lot of devices in the cold weather, because you can put this out, and if you take a piece of wax paper and set it down over the 4 vertical elevation wires, and we'll try this again.
All right.
Okay, you see these 4 wires here?
Yeah, we see 2 of them, so there's 2 on the other side. Yep, got it. Oh, there we go.
And that's what keeps your snare in place. And so you put a piece of wax paper down, and say you get some snow on there and it thaws. Well, if you can protect that pan from locking in place if it freezes again, which wax paper will do, then an animal can come by later, and if you bring that snare up just a tiny bit up them wires to where it's not stuck to the bottom, then it'll break free and come up and catch.
Gotcha. Nice, because that's going to be a real problem. It's less of a problem here in Montana, but in other states, you get a lot of freeze thaw, and that can really be a pain in the. Well, you know what kind of a pain it can be. So $159. And how wide is the target plate? How is I guess the pan, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, how big is your pan?
Well, the pan, that's another plus on this, is it's like 5 by 5. So you have a lot bigger area for them to step into than a normal trap. And then the snare loop itself is 11.5 inches in diameter.
11.5 inches. And so when they purchase it, how many different chains do they get, or do you give them instructions on which type of chain they would need to put on the device to catch different animals?
If you go on our website, selectocatch.com, there's all kinds of instructionals on there. And when they order the snare, they have their choice of whatever snare they want, whether it be for a bear, coyote, wolf, lion, and then they have the option of ordering different snares because one unit does it all.
Right. So bobcat, I don't think we mentioned bobcat yet.
Yeah,
Bobcat,
bobcat and the coyote snare are the same.
same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are pretty high dollar animals now. So for the wildlife control operator, the advantage is going to be the simplicity of it. And if they have, it can be used as a trail set where the collarum is a bait only set.
Correct.
You can only bait the animal to it, where this can be used as a trail or a bait set. But you said it's most effective, I guess, as a trail set.
Exactly. And then also without the bait, you have a wide variety of animals. You know, there's some animals that might not be as attractive to bait as others. And so whereas they're walking down the trail and you know, it'll catch, you know, basically what you're trying to target.
So if someone was interested in purchasing this, it would be important for them to know whether snares are legal in their respective state. Even though this is not a lethal snare, unfortunately, just a warning to everyone, a lot of times state laws have not properly distinguished between snares and what we call cable restraints. Unfortunately, a lot of laws have not caught up to that distinction. This is really a cable restraint. Rather than a snare. A snare is typically a kill device as opposed to a restraining device. And this is a restraining device.
Well, not only that, but it's they don't define between a neck snare and a foot snare.
Right, right.
And so when you go to our website, there's a link you can go to there that it shows all 50 states. So if you have any questions at all, you can get on there and you can read in your state what's legal and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So from Massachusetts, you know, our motto is if it works, we ban it. So I'm not there anymore. I'm here in Montana, where we have sort of the opposite attitude here in Montana. So, but in my Massachusetts, I think Washington State would be another one. We're sorry, but unfortunately, these traps are not legal in those two locations. But this is something where you need to lobby your state agencies to be sure that they distinguish between snares and cable restraints, because there's a world of difference between the two of them. And it's unfortunate that the way the antis are going. That's a topic for another time. So are you full-time doing this now, or is it still a side gig for you now that you're retired? Is this kind of taken over your life and you're really beginning to push it?
Oh, it is going to be more and more now. I mean, when I was working before, I've always, you know, so I didn't have a conflict of interest. You know, this was on the side, and I had to be careful how I worked with it and
Yep.
how we publicized it and stuff. So, but now that I'm retired, that opens that up a little bit, and I think it's really. I mean, it already is. We've sold these in 40 states already.
Wow.
We've got these units in New Zealand. We've got them in Nepal. We've got them we have a Canadian distributor and also WCS on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So,
Wildlife Control Supplies. Yeah. Okay.
and,
So that worked out for you. I thought that one might. Yeah.
It did. It worked out good.
So you have it in New Zealand, Nepal. Now, what are they trapping in Nepal? Is that the snow leopard?
we actually they were got some for tigers.
Tigers.
Yes, the Siberian tigers, and the last I heard is they did catch a leopard down there.
Oh, no kidding.
Everything worked out really good.
Wow.
So,
So how about South Africa? Have you got it to South Africa?
We haven't touched it. And we actually get a lot of inquiries on the internet from from Pakistan,
Yeah,
India, China. Well, we like to buy one, and it takes 10 years to perfect it, and it takes 10 minutes to copy it.
that's
But
correct. Yes.
well,
Yeah.
anyway, some of that we've been a little leery, but some of the others you can kind of filter through it, and
Yeah.
we've been able to sell to them. And actually, I got to tell you, in 10 years, and there's been people probably out there that had a bad experience. I don't know,
Yeah.
but we've never had one complaint.
Wow. That's amazing.
That,
So
that's
how about Spain? Have you gotten into Spain yet? Spain's
no,
got
no.
got coyotes out there. Oh,
It,
no kidding.
it's endless the possibilities with this unit.
Yeah, not coyotes. I think it's like a dingo type dog or something
They
out
got
there, or
wolves.
foxes.
They got
Yeah,
wolves in
wolf.
Spain.
There it is. Yeah. So I know they got some sort of major canine over there. So, because I know they've used the collarum in Spain. So I would think, why wouldn't they use this particular product? So you're seeing tremendous growth opportunities down the road then here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Exactly.
And where do you see the development of are you looking at modifying this trap for even smaller animals, or looking to do something? Are you looking to get into other types of trapping equipment, or are you just basically just focusing on this and this alone?
This is it. And like I say, it does everything from foxes to black bears. And we have caught some grizzly bears accidentally trying to trap wolves. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the nice thing about this. You catch a big grizzly bear and you've got that wolf breakaway on there, they bust open and they're gone.
You're gone.
Uh, and we do have a bigger one, but they cost so much to manufacture. They've got a 16-inch loop as opposed to the 11 and a half, made out of aluminum, that work really well for grizzly bears. But how many grizzly bear trappers are there?
Right, right.
So this is the one, and we did the molds. We've got this. This is made out of this is the cover that goes over the top of the trigger housing.
Yeah.
And this is a UHMW kind of a material that they use for telephone boxes and stuff that they'll hand up to the sun and the cold and actually in all the bears and everything that's been caught, one of the worst things is like wolves. We've had a couple of wolves they'll eat, maybe chew a corner, but as long as that'll still cover up, it's still
They get a little bored and chew a corner. Yeah.
well, and the thing is too, I mean, some of the wolves we've caught, and with that chain, it doesn't hurt, and they take off, and I mean, they can travel, and I've seen wolves a day or two after they've been caught in one of these, and I mean, they're going just like normal.
So the collarum has had some scientific research done. It's been used in some scientific studies where they were evaluating its effectiveness, and I guess it's what they call the humane score, I guess animal injury score. Is that in the works for you? You have a lot of connections within wildlife services now. You would think they would be able to pick up the flag and test this out in the field and publish an article on it.
Well, yeah, the only thing, and like I say, I've always, since I worked for them, I've always been kind of, having to walk the tightrope.
Right.
But I guess our main thing is for 10 years, we've never had a complaint. We've never had anybody call up and say, hey, this dog, this happened to this or this happened to that. And we've have them in some states. I won't mention them right up top, but that have banned snares that are using them, and they love them.
Yeah, some of the states have exceptions for scientific research, of course. So it really hurts those of us within the industry. But yeah, there are some exceptions in some of those states. Agency level, right? In scientific research issues. And there are also sometimes exceptions for disease. If there's a disease outbreak, they will allow the banned traps to be used. I mean, that's how they were able to weasel those ballot initiatives through. They had to give enough exceptions to just to ban the people that made their living at it. Basically, is what they wanted to do, and that's kind of what they were able to do. But yeah, I would think, but no, nothing planned for a scientific study on it yet, though.
Well, there hasn't been yet, but
Okay.
maybe that's in the future. But like I say, from what I've seen and all the feedback that we've got, I mean, people are really happy with the way this is performed.
Excellent. Okay. And Europe, are you into Europe yet? Have you got it into England or Germany? Any of those places yet?
Not yet.
Not
Like I
yet.
say, sky's the limit on this. But there again, I mean, we have this patented in the United States,
Yeah.
not only the unit, but also the snare. And
Okay.
that costs so much money.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
And then we also have it patented in Canada.
Okay.
And so I guess there's a 30 country EU patent, we can look at later and this and that. But we've been kind of reluctant because we've been doing pretty well just in this locality.
Right.
Been kind of reluctant to get it out too much in other countries because, like I say, it can be copied, and then you think, well, there it goes.
Right.
So down the road is we, we get develop, then maybe we'll look more into patents and sending them to other countries.
Sure. Okay. And so, in terms of the durability of the product, how long have some of your products been in the field without needing a new? Because there's several moving parts with this. We don't
Yeah.
know a foothold can be around for 20 years and still be working. With this one, what are some of the pieces and parts that may need to be repaired or replaced as people are using this?
Well, so far, the only thing that we've had as far as the unit goes itself is where I was showing you how a couple of these corners have been chewed by wolves or
Right.
coyotes or whatever, but they could still be used. On the snare, there's the keepers that go into the holes. Like when they watch the video, they'll see how that works.
Right.
And sometimes a keeper we bust it off, and we do sell those online,
Okay.
but but no, they've held up really, really well.
Okay.
So
Let's talk about price. We had $159 a piece. Is there a break point if someone buys them by the dozen, or is it 6? Or what's the price break point if someone's buying in bulk?
no, it's 159. I mean, and most people don't need, a whole bunch. I mean, the ones we've sold have been, like, and then of course with the distributors, we do a little bit of a break for them, but
Sure.
yeah, it's 159, and then it's $15 shipping whether you order one or up to $500.
Wow. That's not bad. So you can get 3 still for $15 shipping.
Exactly.
That's not bad. 3 to
Yeah.
4. Oh, very
And
good.
a few extra snares too. So that is a little bit of break there if a person wanted more. The shipping is a lot. And so in Canada, we have this Canadian distributor, which is Senecers, that does the neck snares
Okay.
out of Alberta. And we found, we do, and we still get Canadian orders, but they do most of it. But it costs so much to ship to Canada.
Oh, it does. It's ridiculous.
So we can meet him at the border because we're not that far from the border.
Right.
And
Right.
that saves a lot there for the Canadian people.
So you just hand it over the border? How do you handle customs and all that? Just
We just throw them right over the
right over, just toss them right over. Just throw it over the back there. I don't know where it went. Throw the border now.
Actually, it's not too bad. He can come down, and there's some paperwork to do at the border,
Yeah.
and it goes right across. And that does save a lot for anybody in Canada that would like to buy them and save on shipping and stuff.
No kidding. All right. Well, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would like to make sure that we do discuss? We'll have the video on there as well for people to take a look at. But what do you want to have as the takeaway for them right now?
I guess, I did this job for many, many years, and always in the back of your mind, and whatever you do, whether it be trapping or, you always want to do something a little better.
Right.
And like I say, when Steve come up with this, I kind of come up with that snare, and was thinking, might be a little better. And I mean, and there's definitely different, places you can utilize this. And, I feel really good about the whole project, and I feel real good about what we're doing here.
Well, it's an intriguing design, and I just want to encourage everybody check out his website. Let's kind of go over it again. So it's Mike and Maureen Hoggan are the owners of the company with some silent partners as well. It's selectacatch.com, selectacatch.com. Just spell it out the way it sounds. Select a catch, CATCH.com, select a catch, which is a clever name. And the company owns Universal Select a Catch, and they're up here in Montana. This is the gentleman that taught me how to use M44s, and maybe we'll have to have a show on M44s because I love M44s. They are really cool, even though enough people can't use them, unfortunately. But we should probably do a show on M44s. But selectacatch.com, selectacatch.com. If you're looking for a leg snare with a different design, something that you can use to catch a wide variety of animals, everything from red fox to dogs to feral hogs to mountain lions to black bears to grizzly bears to wolves, and probably a whole host of animals in between if you want to take it that far. It has different ways of working the pressure on the trigger so you can be more selective in your catch. There are different chains that you can get to be sure you're more likely to catch the animal that you're targeting.
And the chain also is something that does, just wraps around
Wraps
to
around.
keep the circulation. That's why dog catchers really love it.
Dog catchers like it. So it's just another tool in that toolbox to catch some of those animals that are going to be a little bit more difficult. This is what separates the professional from just the run of the mill, someone trying to throw a box trap out to catch something. So you need to have some of these tools as animals become more and more cage wise and box trap wise. You got to be able to switch it up because people are trapping animals and moving them around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So check out the website, selectacatch.com. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate you being on the show here. So, well, everyone, this is ending another of our show of the Living the Wildlife. We want to take a few moments, subscribe to our channel, send some comments to me. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Check out my website at wildlifecontrolconsultant.com as well. We'd love to hear from you, even the bad news and the good news. Of course, we'd love to get some good news. And if you're interested in being on the show, you want to be interviewed, perhaps you have a product or someone you think should be on our show about a new item or technique that the industry should know about, definitely you can reach out to me again at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. And remember, everyone, we want you, why do we call this Living the Wildlife? Because we want you to live the wildlife, not be the wildlife. Take care, everybody.